Hello beautiful people, I wanted to share my experience with Invisalign and the dental disaster that I had this summer. And this was like a long stretched out disaster, and you were just sort of watching it in slow motion, watching everything sort of crumble before your eyes. So have you ever made a decision that you regretted almost immediately, but it was too late because things were already set in motion, and every step of the way you felt like you were literally going against the grain of the universe? So I'm going to share this experience with you guys, and hopefully it'll help someone else out there in case you find yourself in a similar situation. Maybe this will help you avoid the mistakes that I made, because if I could go back and do it again, I would definitely do it differently. Okay, so let's go back to April 6th. That's when I was supposed to have finished Invisalign. I should probably mention that during my Invisalign treatment, I had two different orthodontists. The first one that I started with, which was the one that I chose to, go through the process with, I really liked her a lot. She was extremely detailed. She was a perfectionist, and I just felt like a good vibe with her. Like she knew what she was going to be doing, except for she ended up selling her business partway through the treatment. So about halfway through the treatment, actually. So I ended up with a second orthodontist, and the second orthodontist was not an elite provider. He was just a regular orthodontist. Nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't what it wasn't what I picked, It just like, I was paying full price for what I felt was a top tier orthodontist, and then got switched halfway through to someone who wasn't, the skill level is just different. That's just a fact. So it was a really interesting experience having two totally different orthodontists, because they operate so differently and their skill level is so different, and it's very apparent to the patient. Like, you'll be able to pick up on it. Luckily, my teeth had already gone through most of the changes by the time I was switched to the second orthodontist, so I already felt pretty happy with how things were going and how fast they were moving along. So I just, stuck it out. I thought, okay, this'll be fine. He'll just finish off the treatment and we'll be all good. So yeah, you could definitely feel though the difference when how they have you in for treatments. I felt really rushed with him compared to my first orthodontist. She really took her time with me and was really, like I said, detailed, perfectionist. And he was more like, okay, in, out, here's your new trays, your next 2 months of trays or whatever, and send you on your way. So it was definitely a different level of connection, I guess, with your orthodontist. So an agreement that I had in our contract with the first orthodontist was that she was going to be doing laser gum contouring on me, just to raise the gum line a little bit, and that just it shows more teeth and less gum, right? So less gummy smile. So that was our agreement straight away when I was first signing all the paperwork for doing Invisalign, and that was one of her specialties, and she was going to do that process on me. And I actually had already paid my old orthodontist in advance for that too. So when my orthodontist switched and I ended up with the second guy, he didn't do any of that. So he didn't know how to do any gum contouring or anything about that. So I ended up having to go out and go find someone else to be able to do this. So I'd mentioned it to my dentist, and he was like, oh yeah, we can do that here. Yeah, I do that. I have all the equipment and we can definitely do that for you. So I was like, okay, great. Okay, now to where the disaster starts to snowball. So April 6th, I go into my orthodontist office, and he removes the buttons, the attachments and everything, and is like, okay, you're done. You just have to go next door to your dentist, have him do the crown replacement and the gum contouring, come back, get scanned for retainers, and you're good to go. So knowing that I'm moving in June and this is April, I know that I've got a short window here to make sure everything gets done right. So I already made my appointments with my dentist in advance. And so I go into my appointment, and there's some sort of confusion at the front desk. They have no idea that I'm having laser gum contouring done, let alone on all 6 of my top teeth. They think that it's just maybe one after the crown or during the crown process, and I'm like, okay, no, this is supposed to be we're lifting the whole gum line, right? And so I try to explain that to the front desk, and then they're like, okay, we'll talk to the doctor. And then they talk to the doctor, the dentist, and find out, what he had planned. So I end up having to reschedule the laser gum contouring. And so when I go into that appointment, I'm thinking, okay, this is it. I go in, I sit down, they're like, hey, you want a blanket and everything? It's like, you're in the chair, you're ready to go, right? Let's do this. And he comes in, and it turns into just another consultation. And I'm like, okay, so nothing's happening today. At a certain point during the appointment, he was just sort of looking at my teeth, and he took some pictures, and he was just sort of like, okay, so what is it that you actually want with the gum contouring? So I was like, okay, yeah, I thought we were just raising the gum line a little bit, all across the smile line. And so he's like, okay, and he's thinking about it, took the pictures and whatever, and then I'm I get the feeling, okay, we're not actually doing this today either. I have to reschedule. So it was I had like a pre-consultation for a consultation, and then maybe down the road I might get this done. So then I have to make another appointment for the laser gum contouring to finally be done. And at this point, he had sent me pictures, so we emailed back and forth, and you know, I just decided, because he didn't seem to want to do all 6 teeth across the front. So I was like, okay, maybe he felt uncomfortable, maybe his skill level wasn't up to it, I didn't know what it is. So we just agreed on, okay, just do it on the lower ones, you know, where my gum kind of comes down a little bit more. So it was like 3 teeth. So just to do 3 teeth actually cost me more than what my orthodontist had originally charged me to do the whole smile line. So I was just like, oh, this is not going well. But we're not to it yet. We're not to it, because this just kept going. So I finally make it into the dentist chair, and he's doing the prep for the crown, and he does the laser gum contouring, I think just on 2 teeth at that time. He ended up having to redo the laser gum contouring a total of 3 times, because it wasn't turning out right. Like the shape of the gum, you'd be surprised like how just a little bit off, it can cause like a peak at a weird part or something. Anyways, so he had to redo it 3 times. Different appointments, and I was like getting exhausted. That was pretty minor though compared to what else was going to be happening. I forgot to mention one of my first consultations at the dentist for the laser gum recontouring. He didn't feel that my Invisalign was done because my midline was actually still off, and so I actually made an appointment with my orthodontist and went over there the very next day and, you know, said, hey, my dentist is like concerned about this, that I'm not done all the way. I think that I need to get into a 3rd set of refinements, which would have held off on all the dentistry work, and I would have just basically transferred to the mainland and continued refinements here. I had no problem with that at all. I really wanted to do that. And my orthodontist was like, no, you don't want to do that because it's going to be way too expensive. And for some reason, he just really wanted to finish it off himself. And I'm not sure if that has to do with, do they get to like count how many patients they finish or complete treatment with? I'm not sure what it was, but he was really against me transferring orthodontist. I think maybe he thought that he was gonna have to refund some of the money or something. I don't know. I wasn't gonna ask him for that. I just wanted to get to a new orthodontist, you know, and go have the treatment finished here on the mainland, since this is where I was moving to, and I didn't want to have to rush treatment like that. But, you know, I listened to him, and so I went back to the dentist and I said, no, he thinks that I'm done and he just wants me to have it finished here. So he was like, okay. So back at my dentist office, he was really worried that my midline just was still gonna look off, and so he wanted to try to help that. He actually recommended that I do 6 veneers for $9,000. And I was like, I just paid over $8,000 for Invisalign. I did not sign up to double the price, you know, like I was kind of freaking out. And so I was like, no, I cannot do that. There's no freaking way. And so they're like, okay, well, we can just go ahead and try to do our best with making the 1 crown. And so I was like, okay, fine. And so I go home, and then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to compromise or something. So I call them back and I say, well, would it help you if we do just like 1 veneer on the other side? So a crown and a veneer, so they can just like match, and they have full control over just the 2 front teeth, right? And so he's like, yes, we can definitely do that, and that'll really help a lot. This is where everything really starts to go downhill. And that is, the dentist actually did everything in office. So he did his own ceramic. And the thing with that is, when you're doing ceramic for, you know, cosmetic dentistry, when you're doing crowns and things, especially when you can see them right in the front of your mouth, you want it to be as perfect as possible. You've got shape, translucency, you know, the texture, everything is noticeable when it's cosmetic dentistry, right? So if you do the shape wrong, like, you have to be a natural artist to be able to do this stuff, you know? So usually what most dentists do is they take all the information, they take the molds and everything of your mouth, your teeth, and what they're working on, and they send that into the lab, and the lab will create the porcelain, which is gonna be your tooth, right? So he did not do that. He actually did all the work himself in office, which when they first pitched that to me, you know, oh, we do all the work here, we can do same day and everything, I thought, okay, I guess that sounds good, you know, they know how to do everything there, they can do it fast, they can do it in the same day, perfect. There was no same day treat. There was no same day. Like none of the appointments I had with them, nothing happened in the same day. Let's just say that. And the fact that it wasn't done in a professional laboratory, instead he was trying to do it himself, you know, I don't think that was a good idea. I think that it needed to go to a professional laboratory, but maybe that's a way of that office saving money doing it themselves, right? Because laboratories doing porcelain can be very expensive. Okay, so yeah, that was my mistake for not catching on to that and realizing, no, everything should be done in a professional laboratory, not like in the dentist office there. So right around mid-May, which is about a little over a month later of basically weekly dentist appointments, I finally get my crown and veneer permanently cemented in. And you know, they hand you the little mirror, you're in the dentist office, you check and make sure that, you know, it looks the way you want it to. And so I looked at it, I thought, you know, it was really hard to tell because it was kind of dim in there, and you had artificial light. And what I should have done was went outside. So let me just give you this tip right now. If you are in the dentist office and there's no natural light, go outside. Really take your time and make sure that it's exactly how you want. And when you go back in, if you have any concerns or hesitations at all, make sure you voice those, communicate clearly with them, and make sure that they don't try to send you out the door with something that you do not want. You need to be 100% happy with it. So unfortunately, I did not think about doing that, going outside and seeing it in natural daylight, sunlight and everything, and making sure that everything matched up perfectly with the veneer and the crown. Make sure it looks natural and make sure the shape is the same and everything. So when I got home, after I paid, I realized that they were totally different. So like the crown the color was off, it was like darker than the veneer, and the veneer was brighter, and the veneer was a totally different shape, and I was like, oh my gosh, first of all, how did I not spot this sitting in the chair? Because usually I'm pretty detail oriented, but I think you're a little disoriented naturally when you're in like a different place and you feel kind of rushed because they're like standing there staring at you, waiting for you to hurry up and make the decision if everything looks fine, and you're trying to look at it, but they're like looking at you. Anyway, it's like a whole uncomfortable thing, right? But you've got to just take your time, block everything else out, and really focus and make sure that it's exactly how you want it. If it's not, make them do it again. So you are the one paying them, so don't forget that. So within a couple hours after me getting home and seeing how different they were, I called the office immediately and made another appointment to go in. I took pictures and everything. I emailed them to the dentist so he could see the problem, and he was like, okay, yeah, they're definitely too different. Yeah, come back in, we're gonna redo them for you. So this time in the office, I was able to see they had me in a different room, which was all natural lighting. They had, you know, a lot of big windows so you're able to see. And I also went outside, I had Michael look, and I did everything that I could to make sure that they were right this time, because I wanted to make sure that, you know, I was getting what I paid for, and I didn't want to walk out the door this time and have anything else be wrong. So this time I felt a lot better about how the crown and veneer turned out. Although the shape is still, it takes a lot of getting used to, because you just naturally assume, or at least I did, that when they do a veneer, you just automatically think, oh, veneer is perfection, which is not at all how it is. They can be so far from perfection, they can really mess things up in your mouth and look totally off and not fit the rest of your teeth. So yeah, it took a lot of getting used to, and I still don't know that they did the shape right. I mean, you know, like I said, it's like the dentist kind of has to have an artistry eye to be able to, you know, figure out exactly what looks best. And I don't know that like our idea of what would look best kind of matched up well enough, which I think that's something else you really need to communicate with the dentist ahead of time and during the entire process, was sort of what you envision and how you want it to be. If you want it to be as close as possible to your natural teeth, which I thought I, you know, specified that, but I don't know, it's how it turned out. So it is what it is at this point. Yeah, so I wouldn't have wanted them to be so rounded on the outside, and also they're both wider, which I thought that was the whole point of the compromise of doing a veneer, because I didn't actually want a veneer originally. I just wanted the one crown done. But he felt like, well, the one crown would look too wide compared to my natural tooth next to it, so he wanted to do veneers, you know. So anyway, that's why I decided to go and let him do the veneer, so because I thought he would be able to like match it up and it kind of balance out the width of each, right? I thought it would be easier that way. But then they both ended up wide, and I'm like, what is that? How did that happen? So anyway, there's that. But I just felt like, okay, maybe I just need to take some time, get used to it, because it's just weird seeing it in your mouth, you know, seeing a different look to your teeth in your mouth that you're not used to, which I've gotten more used to it now. They're just bigger than what I'm used to, you know. So I've got more like kind of like a little bit like rabbit front teeth or something now, I don't know. So all my dentistry work got wrapped up at the end of May, which left me 1 week to go before we were going to be moving. So I'm back at my orthodontist's office and I'm, letting them know that everything's done. I'm ready to be scanned for retainers. They're like, well, the girl that does all the scanning for retainers isn't in today, but we can go ahead and make you some in-house retainers. So 2 days later, I'm back in my orthodontist's office to pick up the temporary retainers, and the orthodontist, I'm in the chair and the orthodontist is trying to get them on my teeth. Like, he's really having to like force them onto my teeth, and I'm like, I don't think that these are, I don't think these fit. Do I have the right ones? Are these somebody else's? I mean, they're definitely not fitting very well at all. So he kind of leaves it like sort of partially on, but not really snapped into place or anything like that. So I'm like, oh, this is not going well at all. Anyway, just, fighting the universe the whole way, right? Like every step of the way. He then goes into the next room and he gets this form, which is for me to sign and read through all about retainers and saying that I've received my retainers. And I'm like, okay, so it sort of looks like this is the final form for me to sign. Like he has wrapped up treatment with Invisalign and me, and I am all done. And he's like, the release form, I'm out of there, And I'm like, I'm still gonna be scanned for retainers today, right? Because I was coming back to pick up the temporaries and get scanned for my actual professional Invisalign retainers. And he was like, oh, you're gonna be scanned. Like, he totally forgot that I was actually there to be scanned for Invisalign retainers. He's like, oh, shoot, well, the girl who does the scans, she left earlier today. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Because I leave like after the weekend. Like, we're talking, I'm there on Thursday, they're not open on Fridays or the weekend, and I leave on Monday to fly here. So the main girl wasn't there who does the scanning. The other one was out sick, and it was only the orthodontist and one other trainee girl who had used the equipment, I think, once before and really didn't know how to use it, and the orthodontist had no clue how to use it either. So I was like, oh my goodness, of course. I mean, at this point, things were becoming more comical because when you're going against the grain of the universe, that's just how it is. So the trainee girl tries to remember how to set up the equipment. So she's kind of struggling with that. And then the orthodontist is like, okay, well, I'll try to scan you. I'm not really sure how to do this though. I've never used this before. So I'm like, okay, we're just gonna see how this goes. All right, I'm like a guinea pig here. Like, I felt like a guinea pig the entire time, like the past 2 months, like every time I go in for one of these appointments. So between the two of them trying to work on my mouth to do the scanning, which is apparently a very simple process, it was like bumbling and like hurting and pressing the thing in my mouth and on my gum, and it was not good. It was not good. So the orthodontist actually gave up because he didn't know what the heck he was doing. And then the poor trainee girl, she went ahead and tried to finish, and it took like an hour longer than what it normally takes, which is usually about 20 minutes. Oh, I forgot to mention, okay, during that long period of time when I was having all the dental work done, see, it was supposed to be quick. It was supposed to be 2 appointments happening back to back in like, a few days time or a week at the most time. And I was supposed to be right back at the orthodontist getting scanned for retainers. That's how it was supposed to go, not how it went at all. So during all that dentistry work, I kept wearing my last set of Invisalign trays as long as I could until they just wouldn't fit anymore. I kept the bottom ones in because nothing was happening down there, but just the top. At a certain point, they did, the work, and then I couldn't get my tray back in at all. I even like tried to cut it so there's a little bit of a gap to make room for the work that they were doing, so I'd still be able to wear it, and it would help with keeping the rest of my teeth, because your teeth can shift super fast. So your bottom teeth, I've heard, can shift within just like a couple days time. So I made sure to keep wearing that full time, and I tried to wear the top as best I could with the cutouts and everything that I did. And I still feel like my top teeth, like the side ones, like right next to your front teeth, I feel like those started to shift in, and that's where I felt like they would go first, like they would start reverting backwards, and I was like really freaked out about that. So right at the end of all my dentistry work, I went back to my orthodontist and I told him I think that I need to do a third set of refinements because I think my teeth might have shifted. And so you know what he does? He goes on his computer and he looks. They had taken some pictures like before I went and had the dentistry work done. So after my treatment, so April 6th, they took a few pictures, and they have you open your mouth so they can see the arch and how the arch fits and everything. All your teeth fit in the arch. So he goes and gets on the computer and brings up the picture from April 6th that they took. And he's like, no, see, your arch is still fine. That's exactly how it should be. And I'm like, no. That is back on April 6th. We're talking right now. We're talking this period of my teeth possibly shifting in the past 2 months. That's what we're talking about. Anyway, so once again, he did not want to do a third set of refinements. He said my arch was fine, everything was fine, it's exactly how it was. It just appears that my teeth are a little bit in because of the crown and veneer kind of protrude out, which is correct. Okay, that's another thing I didn't mention yet. So when they're doing a crown or veneers, how the crown is seated makes a difference, because it can either be turned slightly, you know, when they're cementing it in, it can be a little off. So actually something that I did not notice, because I did not open my mouth up and stick a mirror in until I was at home, which I know probably sounds weird, but I was like really kind of obsessed with my teeth and like looking at them from every angle. So I actually stuck my phone in my mouth and took a picture of my arch, because it was like the only way I could figure out how to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like after the dentistry work and everything is done, I saw that they were seated slightly crooked. Like one tooth is kind of more straight on, it's more like tilted in a little bit, and the other one is kind of like the opposite. So I'm like, holy crap, they're not seated right. Like you wouldn't really notice, like looking at me now, you're not gonna notice that. And like looking in a mirror straight on or side, you're not gonna notice. You would only notice by sticking a camera in your mouth and taking a picture of your arch. So yeah, think about that. You've just spent thousands of dollars getting your teeth straightened and then having your dental work done, only to end up with 2 crooked front teeth at the very end of the process. It's like, oh my gosh, not to mention it was years in the making. It was, yeah, almost like, okay, 3 years is exactly how long that whole situation took. I had some freak out moments. Let me just tell you that. There was definitely some anxiety, panic attack, freak out moments, and I tried to do my best with the situation, but I knew that I messed up by allowing the work to be done while I was still in Hawaii. I wanted to have it done here. I didn't stick with my instinct, and when you go against your instinct, oh man, it can really screw things up. You've just really got to trust your intuition on that. But I promise there is good news that I have for you at the end of this video. So, okay, I'm here now. I get to Tucson, you know, we're settling in and everything. And before we're even like moved into our house, you know, I'm still like in a vacation rental, already on the phone, making an appointment with a new elite orthodontist, you know, Invisalign provider here. So I go into my consultation at the orthodontist here, and I feel like I'm at a used car salesman's desk. Like there's the orthodontist who pops in briefly for a time, but the main guy was like a numbers guy. He was just like crunching prices and stuff for me. And I'm like, well, I thought I was going in to have a consultation, like the orthodontist would actually like look at my teeth and kind of tell me where I was at and see if everything was okay. And if he said that everything was good, then I'd walk out of there perfectly happy and be like, okay, I guess nothing changed or shifted and I'm okay. And my bite is fine. And I wouldn't worry about it again. But it was more like they wouldn't even like look at me until I had like signed a paper saying that I would be paying them, you know? So it was like, okay, this is not the kind of second opinion that I was thinking I was gonna be coming in for. So price-wise, he was basically like, you were gonna be starting over in Invisalign. So you're gonna pay Invisalign another $1,200 and then you're gonna pay us $189 a month. I totally get paying for the new orthodontist services rendered, but paying Invisalign again? I mean, no, are you kidding me? Like I already paid them, like that's not okay, you know? After that, I just like gave up and I was just like, okay, you know what? Never mind, I'm leaving everything as is and I won't worry about it again. But then my stubbornness set in, and out of sheer determination, I thought I'd try one more orthodontist in the area, and she was another elite provider. So as soon as I got into my appointment at this office, they took me in right away. They did x-rays, they took pictures, they checked my arch, they checked the bite, everything like right away without crunching numbers, without like breaking down all the prices and everything for me. They just went over and really examined in detail my mouth to see exactly what was going on. The orthodontist went over everything, and she, without me having to say a word about what I thought was wrong, she pointed out everything and said, here's what's going on, and we can definitely fix this. So she explained that I would not need to pay Invisalign again. I didn't need to start over. That wasn't necessary because I would just be able to transfer from my old Maui orthodontist to there directly, and I didn't have a third set of refinements done out there, which you are allowed to have done if you want, which I wanted, but they didn't want to do it for me. So I get to have that done here, and I'm only paying for the services rendered, which is a total of $400 for, you know, to my new orthodontist here, who is going to do like finish me out with the treatment and everything. So that was a huge relief. I'm going to be starting my third set of refinements with them in, let's see, well, actually just after the weekend. So today is Friday, so Monday I go in for them. So I'm really excited to finally finish that out because it has been a crazy roller coaster ride. one that I would like to get off of sometime because it's making me a little nauseous now at this point. So yeah, if I had to do it over again, I would have had my orthodontist transfer me, even though it was against what he wanted. He wanted me to have the work done all out there. I wanted to have it done here. Just stick to your guns. That's all I can say. Trust your instinct, stick to your guns, and don't let anyone else, even if they're a professional, talk you out of what you feel is gonna be best for you, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to share that long, convoluted, drawn out story with you guys to hopefully save somebody else out there from going through what I did. You know, and now at this point, that's why I waited to share the story with you too, because I wanted to make sure there was like a happy ending to it, and I finally found a new orthodontist that I feel is gonna be really, really good. All right guys, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.